This is Jeremy Wentworth-Stanley. I'm the fellow who has a hyphen in my name. The hyphen is silent, but I am anything but that. Sarah, it's lovely to be with you this morning, and I am the Voice of Respectonomics, and you, Sarah, are my co-host, and it's, for the listeners, it's Sarah Benton, and my name is Jeremy Wentworth-Stanley. And we're going to be talking about a subject that is probably about as medieval as you can make it. It goes back to the ancient of times, and that is that expression, be true to thyself. And I'm going to quote Mr. Shakespeare. Are you ready for some Shakespeare this morning?
I'm ready.
Or would you prefer some Latin or Greek? Your choice.
Anything that you've got that you feel that speaks to you, Jeremy.
Sarah, why are you being so nice?
I'm always nice.
It reads, and this is from Hamlet, "This above all to thine own self be true, and it must follow, as the night the day, thou canst not be false to any man." Let's start again. Thou canst not then be false to any man. So the truth that we find in ourselves is the truth that we express to others. I think that's an equation or a formula that most of us would say, yeah, I like it. But the problem is, how on the earth do we get to be true to ourselves? We live in a world where we're plagued with every kind of commercial. Facebook, I don't know if you've noticed on Facebook, have you noticed everybody's happy? Everybody's got a smile. Everybody's got a double martini in front of them.
On Facebook very often, so.
Well,
but I can see that for sure being the case.
Yeah, and I mean that whole principle of the chat groups and everything, they're all about we're having a good time. And the problem is that whole superficial we're having a great time and we live in a big house and all that, all of those things conflict with the fact that most people have lives of despair.
Well, welcome to social media.
Yeah, exactly. So let's just take that as a broad brush, how difficult it is for somebody to be true to themselves. And Respectonomics, as we have said many a time, its function, its purpose is to restore the dignity of the human being. We know that. And we have been asked many a time, then what is our business? And our business is to honor other people's freedom of choice. So the first thing we need to do is to understand that I am free to choose. I am free to choose whether I wish to be true to myself or not. Mm-hmm. And that's going to be the first question. Do you want to be true to yourself? We, as you know, we have the Compass Point series. And the whole issue behind the compass point is you have a compass in your hand. Well, if you don't have a compass in your hand, you're not very likely to be able to get to where you want to get to. You might say GPS, choose your weapon. But what I'm getting at is one of the whole issues about a compass is actually knowing where you are and where you want to get to. So if we're going to be true to ourselves, the first thing we have to do is to hold the compass. And the second thing we have to do is to recognize where we are. Now, most people run for the hills, drop the compass and say, I don't want to know who I am. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, Sarah? They don't want to acknowledge it.
Yeah. So let's take a look at that, because I don't know if you know this or not, but you can test me. Between getting up in the morning and leaving the house, I look in the mirror 11 times.
Okay.
And that's because I shave, I brush my teeth, I comb my hair, and all the things that one does in life. I even use it to make sure my tie is straight. The point I'm getting to is, if we can physically look in the mirror 11 times between 7 o'clock and 8 o'clock, is it too much of a stretch to say, let's look at the inner of oneself 11 times? Mm-hmm. I think it's perfectly reasonable. What's true physically is true mentally. Don't you remember your favorite Latin expression? I know I can hear you wanting to hear it again. Mens sane corpore sano. A healthy body, a healthy mind, and a healthy body. So that, in other words, if we're going to be mirrors to our body, we need to be mirrors to our mind. And one of the contests that we all have is, how do I get a mirror on my mind? Everybody knows how to get a mirror on the wall. That's easy. But how do you get a mirror to your mind? And the first thing is to recognize that there are people out there who can help to show us who we are and what we are. We can do it by writing. Writing is a very powerful tool. If you write a journal, you will reveal things to yourself you didn't even know you knew. It's one of the most extraordinary things. We have the Living Journal. It's going to be up on the website, the Respectonomics website. But it's the one that helps us to understand who we are. One of the most fascinating things about writing a journal is you reveal things to yourself you didn't even know, or has been said, the soul is revealed to things or open to things that the mind hadn't actually told it. But writing will actually release the information. So writing itself is very valuable. Belonging to a small group is invaluable. The Dignity Trust, which is the what would you call it, the cornerstone, the capstone to Respectonomics. It's a group of us of, what is it, 9 people, 10 people, I think.
Yeah.
And one of the things that we have as a group is, actually, interestingly, most of us don't know each other. I'm the only one who knows everybody,
Mhm.
but nobody. But you don't know Bill, and you don't know, Peter, and the list goes on. But the point of the matter is, we are a group where we share ideas. We happen to be talking about Respectonomics, and like every small group conversation, it always navigates into other channels, always does. But one of the great advantages is it's an opportunity to talk, to share ideas without the sense of being right or wrong. There's no judgment. There's no claims to pride. There's no pride of authorship. These are just an opportunity to exchange ideas. So the writing is a good way to do it. The small group is a good idea. And of course, a word that people shy away from in a way, but that is the whole issue of therapy. Therapists, what psychotherapists, and they go under different names, are incredibly useful as a way of being able to talk oneself into what in fact one is feeling, and being able to do it again without judgment, without some sense that you're wrong or anything. So I think that we've nailed 3 things together: the idea of writing, the idea of using a therapist, the idea of being in a small group. Because being true to yourself is one of the ways to overcome the fears that all of us are living with. We find that so many in our lives today are being run by intimidation or fear. If you don't do that in your job today, you will be fired. That kind of, horrible threat and intimidation. And I heard yesterday, there was some commentator was saying that if you want to be successful in business, you play along with what the crowd says is the right way to go. In other words, you suppress your individuality.
Mm-hmm.
That creates incredible internal friction, obviously, because you're going to be one thing on the outside, one thing on the inside, and the two are against each other.
Mm-hmm.
But the other truth is this, Sarah. How many times have people said, okay, I'm going to go along with the crowd and I'll say the right things and all that? And it always ends in tears. And it's not the tears of joy. It's the tears of great pain. And it's when we get kicked under the bus and so on. So the idea of being true to oneself is one where we can, as it were, gird our loins, where we can actually come back to the origins of who we are, how we were created. And, here's the most important part, I think. When you're true to yourself, you start identifying and come to grips with what are the purposes in life that really matter to you. I'm going to patronize you. Are you going to let me do that?
Always.
Okay, well, here we go. You are somebody who cares about other people. That is what you call your true to yourself, your guiding light, yes?
Yes.
I mean, it matters to you to care for other people. Therefore, you need to be in a business that reflects that, which
Right.
you do. Your whole real estate transactional activity is predicated on your understanding what other people's needs are. Whether it's a buyer or a seller or a holder or a renter, whatever it might be, you're always looking at it through that filter of care,
Right.
which frankly, explains the quality of your business and the pride with which you own it.
Right.
So
And it's not even it's not a transaction.
exactly. The
The idea
transaction
is
is a measuring tool at best. It is certainly not the goal.
right.
So I think that being true to yourself, we need to encourage it. And you know something? People will say things like, well, I don't feel like doing that today. And I certainly come from a background, the sort of that Victorian English background.
Mm-hmm.
I come from the background where I said, I don't feel like doing that today. And all I could see was the wagging fingers.
Right.
Well, you ought to be doing it. I think the word ought should be ought, ought to be excommunicated. It should be taken out of the English language. The answer is when somebody says, I don't feel like doing it, how nice to be able to turn around, draw alongside actually, and be able to say, hey, what's your thinking on that?
Right.
But explore it, give it some air instead of the condemnation or conviction. I think that's a reasonable start to let other people live. What is that expression? Live as you would let other people live. But anyway, I think that we've talked about the compass.
Mm-hmm.
We've talked about how the compass needs to be in my hand. I need to be looking at the compass and saying, show me the truth. And the truth starts with me as an individual. I need to be able to look in the mirror to see what is it about me that is true? What is it about me that, because when I let the truth out of me, all I know is I get fantastic results. It's my potential. One of the risks with the truth is we try and work to other people's truths. We work to other people's potential. That is, or other people's activities. That is incorrect. We need to live up to our own potential, and our own potential is underwritten, it's denominated by who we truly are. I think I may have covered it off.
I think you did.
So may I conclude with, I rest my case.
Thank you, Jeremy.
Thank you, Sarah.